Imagine leaving for a few weeks and coming home to find 98 brand new houses sitting on your land. Families moving in, kids playing, lawns manicured, all without your permission. That's exactly what I faced when an HOA president named Karen decided she owned my property. Too bad every inch still belonged to me. My name's Thomas Gray, though folks around here just call me Tom. I'm 66 years old, a retired land surveyor, and I've walked more property lines than most men have driven highways. My grandfather left me 900 acres of Tennessee pastureland in 1992, a gift I've cared for ever since. It's quiet country here. Mornings start with black coffee and cattle calls, not traffic horns. I've always believed land isn't just dirt, it's family history. My late wife Martha used to say I kept deeds and maps like they were love letters. She wasn't wrong. For decades, I thought my land was safe. But progress has a way of creeping in. Slick developers, greedy politicians, and, in this case, one HOA queen who thought she could bulldoze tradition and rewrite boundaries. Her name? Karen Prescott. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Never underestimate a woman with a clipboard. Karen was 53, bleach blonde with salon-perfect hair, and she drove a white Lexus like it was a throne on wheels. She wasn't just president of the local HOA, she treated herself like mayor of the county. If your grass grew an inch too high, she sent a letter. If your mailbox wasn't the approved shade of beige, she filed a complaint. Her husband, Richard Prescott, sat on the town council, which gave her more power than sense. For years, she'd circled my land like a buzzard, sending me offers to buy parcels of my back pasture for development. I always turned her down. That didn't sit well. Karen wasn't used to hearing the word no. She believed my refusal was just a negotiation tactic. What she didn't realize was that I never planned to sell. Not for her, not for anyone. But Karen wasn't the kind to take rejection. She wanted my land. And one day, she decided she'd simply take it. I'd been out of state for 3 weeks, helping my daughter Sarah with her messy divorce in Oregon. When I pulled up my gravel driveway on a misty morning, something felt wrong. Instead of the sound of cattle lowing, I heard lawnmowers. Instead of wildflowers and creek water, I smelled fresh asphalt and paint. I walked toward the noise, my surveying gear slung over my shoulder, and what I saw made me drop my coffee straight into the dirt. 98 pristine houses sprawled across my pasture. Cookie-cutter McMansions, manicured lawns, white picket fences, kids playing basketball in driveways. A decorative stone sign read, Willow Creek Estates, A. Prescott Development. And right there, riding up in a golf cart like a conquering queen, came Karen Prescott herself. "Excuse me, sir," she said with that syrupy tone only HOA presidents have. "This is private property. Residents and invited guests only." I looked around at my grandfather's oak tree, the same creek where I'd fished as a boy, and felt my blood boil. I said, steady as I could. "This is my land. Has been for 30 years. Her laugh? Like fingernails on a chalkboard. "Oh, honey, you're mistaken. We bought this legally. Maybe you're confused." But I wasn't. I knew right then, this was no mistake. This was theft. 3 days later, a deputy knocked on my door with a restraining order. Claimed I had trespassed on Willow Creek Estates and threatened families with surveying equipment. Imagine that. Carrying a tape measure was now considered a weapon. Karen's smear campaign began overnight. She told residents I was an unstable old man, a danger to children. HOA newsletters painted me as a menace. Facebook groups exploded with posts about how I was lowering property values. Her HOA patrols started staking out my fence line like border guards. They snapped photos of me feeding my cattle, as if I were running a drug ring. Then came vandalism, tires slashed, nails in my driveway, even dead animals left on my porch. Karen wanted me gone. She wanted me broken. But she didn't know she'd picked a fight with the wrong man. 40 years of surveying had taught me one thing: paperwork doesn't lie. I drove straight to the county courthouse, my hands still shaking. If Karen really had a deed, it had to be on file. The records showed a transfer, all right, 900 acres, Supposedly sold to Prescott Development 2 years ago. Filing fee? $50. Witness signatures? Forged. And the notary? Eleanor Hopkins. Problem was, Eleanor had died 6 months before that document was signed. Fraud, plain and simple. I called in reinforcements. My old buddy, Bulldog Mackenzie, a surveyor meaner than a rattlesnake, walked every inch of my boundaries with GPS equipment. His verdict? Those houses sat squarely on my property. Then came Ruby Torres, an investigative reporter. She traced Prescott Development's shell companies, unearthing falsified surveys and secret council votes. Every thread she pulled unraveled more corruption. The more I dug, the clearer it became. Karen's empire was built on lies. And I had the evidence to prove it. Karen wasn't about to admit defeat. She organized a community festival to celebrate Willow Creek Estates, inviting media, politicians, and residents. She planned to play the victim, painting me as a bitter old man trying to ruin families' homes. What she didn't know was that I had a trump card, an old railroad easement contract from 1924 my grandfather had signed. The language was airtight. Any unauthorized construction on Thornfield land automatically transferred ownership to the landowner. That festival turned into the stage for her downfall. Karen stood at the gazebo, microphone in hand, waving a giant cardboard check for $200,000, her generous settlement offer to buy me out. Cameras flashed. Residents clapped. That's when I stepped forward, holding my grandfather's contract. My voice carried across the crowd. Every single home you built, every lawn, every streetlight, every blade of grass, belongs to me. Federal law says so. And here's the proof. The crowd gasped. Reporters swarmed. Ruby live-streamed the whole thing. And just as Karen's face turned red, federal marshals stepped in with warrants. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy, the list went on. Karen's festival had just become her public execution. The fallout was swift. Karen and her husband Richard were arrested on live TV, handcuffed in front of their neighbors. Council members who'd helped them were indicted. Residents, once loyal to Karen, realized they were victims too. Their deeds were worthless, their mortgages tied to fraud. I could have thrown them all off my land, but I didn't. Instead, I offered fair rent-to-own agreements while the courts sorted out the mess. Karen's dream development turned into a federal crime scene. The subdivision she'd built as her legacy became a monument to greed. Standing on my land again, watching cattle graze where houses once stood, I thought of my grandfather's words, "Land is more than dirt. It's your family's history." Karen thought she could steal that history with forged papers and fake smiles. She was wrong. The lesson? Protect what's yours. Greed may build castles, but truth tears them down brick by brick. So tell me, what would you do if an HOA queen built 98 homes on your property? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around for the next wild HOA showdown.